TaxSlayer.com. Great to have you in. I got attacked yesterday by TMZ Sports at the airport.
You did?
I really did. They were asking me stuff about LeBron and the Lakers, and I was like, whoa, I'm with fam. I'm tired. I'm unshaved.
They always get you when you're with family.
I know.
And that's when it's uncomfortable.
So if for the uninitiated here, Adam Silver's the commissioner of the NBA. He's talking about changing the playoff format to what they call the 1 through 16 playoff format. So instead of Eastern Conference, Western Conference, you just put the best teams 1 through 16. They all play. And you know, classic. The internet thinks it's the greatest idea ever. It's great on the internet. It's not great in real life. First of all, this idea has been discussed for over a decade. Why the urgency now? Because LeBron James may bolt to the West, and Adam Silver knows he's got two networks, TNT and ESPN, each paying $1.4 billion or more a year, and they don't want to get saddled every other year with the Wizards and the Raptors. So that's what that's why this thing's been talked about for over a decade. Now there's all this urgency because if LeBron goes in July to the Lakers, Adam Silver doesn't want to say, guys, I've got this newfangled idea. He wants to create a sense of, we're thinking about it, we're plotting, this could happen any day now. Ideally, don't kid yourself. The last three NBA finals, the ratings have been unbelievable. There's nothing broken here. There is nothing broken with the NBA. There are fewer awful teams today than there were in Michael Jordan's years. Look it up. Percentage-wise, during Jordan's years, there were 7 unwatchable teams. And there were fewer teams. Like, there's only about 2 teams in the league now that are hapless. During Jordan's years, there were like 6, and there were significantly fewer teams in his heyday. Or at least fewer teams. I'm not sure if it was significantly fewer, but there were fewer. So the league's not broken. This is about LeBron going west and the league being trapped and the TV partners complaining. And I've always had this theory about sports. We didn't need anything new past about 1988. Like, smart people figured out sports by the 80s. Anything added after that, outside of a rule to ensure safety for the athlete, I'm kind of against. We didn't need these new NFL teams. We didn't need the Jacksonville Jaguars. We didn't need the Charlotte Hornets. We didn't need these we didn't need the Tampa Bay Rays. Anything created after about 85 in sports was to make rich guys richer. It was for TV partners or greed. We don't need this. First of all, the travel would be brutal if you have Boston, Portland in the first round. Here, right now, if you went to 1 and 16, I argue it's just interleague play in baseball. It sounds great, but in the end, if you really think about interleague baseball, are you really jacked to watch the Reds and the Indians outside of Ohio? No. D-backs, A's, really getting your family in the car to drive cross country? No. It was unique, and after the unique wears off, it's still just average baseball. Our staff did this. Here are the first-round playoff games that would happen if you had the 1 through 16 format. And you're going to tell me these are significantly more captivating than what you'd have. Houston, Miami, that's a sweep. Washington, Indiana, wake me when it's over. Boston, Portland's probably a 5-game series. Cleveland, Denver. Golden State, New Orleans, Minnesota, Milwaukee. Like those are a notch above the current playoff games? Not really. So the travel would be brutal. It's an idea that sounds great on paper, but it's interleague play. After the newness wore off, 4 years later, you're watching Denver against LeBron. Like, that's much more fascinating than Milwaukee against LeBron. I'd probably rather see the Greek Freak against LeBron than Denver against LeBron. Here's the third thing, and this is a real thing, is that what we know about the NBA, because the season is so long, is that seeding is kind of irrelevant. Even in the Tim Duncan, Greg Popovich heyday years, they weren't the number 1 seed very often. They won championships when they weren't the number 1 seed. The key was resting stars and getting ready for the postseason. So the seeding isn't true seeding. The number 1 seed is likely not the number 1 team. It's a young, talented team that, like a Minnesota, that wants to have home court advantage. The best team would be the Warriors. You're even seeing it now. The Warriors are going on the road and getting beaten by average teams. So you're not going to get true seeding. So, like, the Celtics could be the 3rd best team in the league, but seeded 5th. And LeBron's team could be the best or 2nd best team in the league and seeded 6th. So then the problem is You could have LeBron play the Warriors early in the playoffs, and they're out of it. Is that good for the league? The Celtics end up against the Warriors in the second round. Is that good for the league? A lot of these things sound great on the internet, on your blog, but the travel would be brutal. You don't really get true seeding. You'd have good teams eliminated earlier than you do now. And frankly, it's interleague play. It would be good for a couple of years, but you'd end up having Denver against LeBron. That's worth changing it. This is about Adam Silver creating urgency. So if LeBron goes west, it doesn't look like, even though it doesn't look like LeBron's changing the league. The NBA and its partners never want to look like one player dominates the league. One player is changing legislation, changing rules. But that's what it is. They're just prepping everybody. So if LeBron goes west, you create this, and it doesn't feel like you're doing it because LeBron went west. So this is, it's like a lot of things. People talk about it. It's very exciting. But operationally, I see more negatives than positives. And the ratings have been great the last three finals. Nothing's broken here. And Doug Gottlieb pointed this out earlier. If you look at sports right now, there's a lot of imbalance. I mean, the South, the SEC, their best football teams are significantly better than the West's best football teams. Why? Because college football means more in the South than it does in the West, which for 9 years, due to Silicon Valley and technology, has made so money. College sports just don't mean as much out West. This is the home of technology. People are richer. They've got more options. They're skiing more. They're vacationing more. They're building homes. They're doing more things. They don't live, breathe, eat, and sleep for their college teams like they used to. The great economy has hurt Pac-12 sports. People aren't as engaged. They are in the South. They live for it, and that's why they dominate. Good for them. Good for them. And we have imbalance in women's college basketball. I mean, Tom Brady's a favorite once again to get to the Super Bowl in the AFC. All right. Alabama's favored again to win next year's national title. All right. The Western Conference is significantly better than the Eastern Conference in the NBA. All right. It's cyclical. I mean, if you start creating legislative changes every time one part of the country or one conference or one division dominates, you're just chasing your tail on this stuff. NBA right now is fine. The ratings are up on every single network. If they were down 15%, then you sit down with your owners and go, we got some systematic issues here. That is not the problem with the NBA. I mean, that is not the issue with the NBA at all. The opposite, I would argue, is true. Car shopping's confusing. Dealer price, list price, invoice, all sorts of terms. You're not sure exactly what they mean. Here's what you need to know. TrueCar shows you what others pay for the car you want so you can recognize a good price. New or used doesn't matter. Be more confident. TrueCar.com. Hour number 3, the experienced and interesting Mike Wise, sports writer from The Undefeated, senior writer, will be joining us in L.A. This is The Herd.
My people, they are coming.